around the Northern Suburbs Outbreak, the family who sent their child to school has released an email they got from the DHHS which says that their family had been cleared to leave isolation. Do you concede now that that was
No,
misleading?
I don't, because that's simply wrong.
So that is wrong?
It is simply wrong. No such advice was provided in relation to the child that went to school. And to speak, and to speak in more detail about that, I'm more than happy to have the testing commander do that.
Was the email doctors, or are they confused?
No, we have had a consistent and very clear information provided to everybody who is a positive case. We understand, of course, as we've said a number of times from this podium over the last few days, that when there are many members in a particular household, I think in a particular household where there are multiple infections rolling through, that those individual communications could be quite complex. That is why the DHHS team are in contact with individual people, every few days to check on their health and how they're progressing. That is a two-way dialogue to make sure people understand what's going on. We are there to answer any questions. It was very clear in the communication about which individual cases were being released, which members were being released in that chain, and the individual in question was due for his day 11 test on the Tuesday, which was arranged, which he did have, but he should not have gone to school on the Monday.
That email states your family has met the Department of Health and Human Services criteria to end isolation. It doesn't say, some of you are free to be released and some aren't. It says your family has met the criteria. Who's got it wrong here, and why can't you guys just admit that DHHS got it wrong?
Well, we didn't, because we have, and I'm not going to go through every single individual letter that we send to every single individual person who is either a close contact or a positive case. I have seen those letters. We send them individually to named individuals. There are 8 individuals in that particular household, and there is a chain of daily, almost daily, discussions, telephone calls, meetings with people to explain to them what's going on as part of that wraparound care that we provide to people. So I'm not going to sit here and say that we are not explicitly clear about what is happening with individual members of a household of 8 people. It is entirely, we set that out very clearly, we continue to do so, and we will continue to do that because it's the right thing to do in terms of focusing on where individuals are at in their chain of transmission and what they need to do next.
Was it not rational for that family to conclude when they received a letter saying your family has met the Department of Health and Human Services criteria to end isolation, that they could go about their business?
No, because what you're taking one piece of documentation in isolation of 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks of communication with a number of people in a household where there's been a continual dialogue, a whole chain of letters and correspondence, and a whole chain of discussions. We have been very clear at every step of the way. We absolutely accept that there may have been a misunderstanding, but the information we have provided is accurate and to the point.
Do you intend in future to communicate this more clearly? And because surely it's understandable that when an entire family receives a letter like this, they can get the impression.
I don't understand that, because we communicate now with far fewer people because we have so few positive cases left, and we have still a significant number of close contacts. We communicate consistently with those individuals, and by and large, the vast majority do the right thing. We have day-to-day contact with individuals to explain to them what's going on, where they're at. We test them multiple times during their period. So the vast majority of people comply because it's the right thing to do and because they understand. And if they don't understand, they ask the questions of the people who are keeping in contact with them. We will continue, of course, we'll continue to see what else we can do to make it clearer. And as the cases come down, that may become a bit easier. But I do not accept that in this case or any other case you might throw at me, that we haven't been clear about our expectations of people about what does isolation and what does quarantine mean.
So just to clarify, why did the letter say your family has met the criteria to end isolation rather than some members of your family have?
Again, there is a whole chain of communication with every single individual who's been involved in that infectious period. I don't have that whole file of correspondence with me. I'm very happy to bring it along at some point and go through it. But we have been explicitly clear with every single individual in that household, in the 11 households, about what's going on.
Rather than digging in and sort of we're hearing a defence of that letter, it's obviously caused an issue. The students gone to school, the families thought they were okay to be there. So obviously there's something that's gone wrong in the communication between the department and the family. So what are you doing to look at how you can change that, how you can do it differently next time to make I guess to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, sure. Look, and I think, as we've discussed, I think in recent days in these press conferences, look, we continue to look at ways at how we can improve communications and understanding. We produce all of our information in multiple languages. We use bilingual workers in many of our case contact discussions. Half of the people, the hundreds of people we had out there doing the testing program, doing the follow up with close contacts, are bilingual from various other communities. So we invest a lot, and rightly so, because this is something that affects all communities in Victoria.
Sorry to jump in. It's not just about the language barriers there, though. It's about the clarity of communication, which isn't a matter of ESL. It's a matter of...
No, absolutely. And look, and I think we continue to also work with schools in this regard. So as I think we discussed a few days ago, we're working very closely with our education colleagues, education teams embedded within our wider public health response, to ensure also that schools understand if there are students registered at schools who are either positive cases or close contacts. We now have processes in place to ensure that those school principals are aware, so they can also be on the watch out and work that through.
But at the end of the day, if a family is misunderstood and sent a kid to school, that's your problem, isn't it?
Well, yes, but as we've said before, I mean, everybody here has a responsibility. So we work tirelessly and will continue to do so. So anything we can do to improve our communications and to improve the support for people. But as we saw at Broadmeadows, at the house we looked at last week, as we've seen in every single response, the number of people that are deployed to support people in their homes, the number of people that are deployed to talk to people on the streets, to follow people through, is immense. This is a huge public health response, not just by people in our department, but by community health organisations, private health networks, local councils. We work with all those parties. So there is a lot of effort, and rightly so, because we want to look after the individuals concerned. We also want to make sure they're getting the support they need. We also want to make sure they do the right thing. So people do have a responsibility. If you're not clear, if you don't understand what we're asking you to do, then please tell us.
Yes, some Victorians might listen to this and go, well, hang on, it's now October, end of October, we've been in this since March. Why are we still making these constant changes and improvements?
But equally, I think Victorians would look at this and say, well, hang on, we've been at this for the last 6 months. How is it that people do not understand, if they're caught in those situations, that if you are a close contact or if you are a positive case, you can't go out and about? As the Premier said, you might think 6 months in that people understand the message that says you can't visit each other in each other's homes. Yet we still find cases where that happens.